And now it is my great privilege to introduce our commencement speaker, Dr. Nikhil Advani. He is a UT Austin College of Natural Sciences Hall of Honor Emerging Leader Award winner. Dr. Advani is the Director for Climate Communities and Wildlife for the World Wildlife Fund. And he gave me these really cool socks that I've got that are WWF socks. Born and brought up in Kenya, he came to the United States to attend the University of Texas at Austin, receiving both his bachelor's degree and PhD, where he studied ecology, evolution, and behavior. Dr. Advani previously worked for the Nature Conservancy in Texas and has been at the World Wildlife Fund for nearly a decade, where he leads a number of projects at the intersection of communities, wildlife, and emerging threats. We are honored to have him with us, so please join me in welcoming Dr. Nikhil Advani.
Thank you, David. Dean Vandenbout, CNS faculty and staff, families and friends, and most importantly, the graduates. It's such an honor to be here before you today. It's amazing to think that these are the very last set of events in this building. So this building will be coming down after this. And I think back to over 2 decades ago, 2 very memorable events that I have attended in this building. So we queued up outside for both events, which must have been maybe a year apart. We queued up outside the undergraduate library starting at 2 a.m. And the speakers were Bill Clinton on one occasion and the Dalai Lama on the other. Bill Clinton, I remember, this was 2003, and he was cautioning against the war in Iraq. The Dalai Lama was just amazing. He came in, sat on this sofa, crossed his legs, and he delivered this amazing speech about being a better person, living in harmony with the earth. Something that really stuck with every single person who attended the event that day. And these are the kinds of things you get exposed to at a world-class university like this. So I don't think I'll come anywhere close to as inspiring as those talks were, but I hope to give you a bit of a reflection of my time at UT and some little bits of knowledge that I've picked up in my career since then. So as David mentioned, I was born and brought up in Kenya, and I decided I was going to come to the US to do my undergrad degree. I only applied to 2 schools, Baylor and UT. Put no thought into it whatsoever. And at one point, they both came back to me saying they need my TOEFL English proficiency exam because I was applying from Kenya. And I said, look, I'm a first language English speaker. These are my SAT scores, and I can't just go and take the exam. These were back in the days of like Scantrons, and they were scheduled every 2 months. And Baylor wrote back saying, Baylor wrote back saying you have to do it, and UT wrote back saying not a problem. And up till this day, I maintain that that is one of the best things that's ever happened to me in my life. I can't even imagine what life would have been like had I ended up in Waco rather than Austin. Not that there's anything wrong with Waco, but I mean, Austin is Austin. So I started at UT in the fall of 2000, and it was like Disneyland. I remember those first few days walking around campus, seeing these amazing buildings, recreational facilities. I just loved it, and took some amazing classes in my time here. Scuba diving, beginner golf, intermediate golf, conditioning swimming. I also did some biology classes. And I also did some that still stick with me to this day. You know, this one class, Vertebrate Natural History, and we'd drive around the state catching rattlesnakes and fun stuff like that. I also did undergraduate research starting in my second semester, and that's what led me to decide I want to do my PhD. So I decided if I'm doing my PhD, I'm only going to do it at UT, applied to the same program, Ecology, Evolution, and Behavior, started in 2005, and the experience there was equally outstanding. You know, the classes we had access to, the faculty, the funding, the facilities. But what do I miss most about that time? The teaching. I loved interacting with the students. It's such a breath of fresh air, and it's something that I probably still miss the most in my work today. Even the pre-meds, who absolutely needed that A. But you know, teaching people about the wonders of biology, about why animals make the mate choices that they do, Punnett squares and what they actually mean. So all in sum, you know, UT has given me so much over the 12 years or so that I was here, and I'm now trying to give back just a fraction of that. So as you embark on this exciting next phase on your life, I've got a few suggestions, words of advice on things that I've learned over the years. The first is that job searching can be very frustrating. So some of you might have that graduate school admission lined up. Some of you might have that dream job secured. Some of you might have no idea what you're doing. And that's perfectly fine. After both my degrees, I had absolutely no idea. And you're going to have some real ups and downs. So I took a year off after my undergrad, and I decided I was flirting with a few job ideas, and one of them was really strange. It was a group interview where the 3 finalists were all interviewed at the same time. And they asked us, I think during the job I realized I don't want this job, but one of the questions they asked us is one word which describes you. And I said, dedicated. I forget what one of the other candidates said, and the third candidate said Aggie. I'm not sure if they got that job. I know we have at least one Aggie in the audience. But all to say, you're gonna encounter some weird things, take it in its time. The second thing is, don't be afraid to start with a position that perhaps you perceive as being lower than what you think you're qualified to do. My first job out of my PhD, I was definitely overqualified for it, but it was my first full-time job. It was my first time working with a big NGO, and it really taught me so many skills that I've kept through my career since then. And my current boss said that he probably wouldn't have hired me straight out of a PhD. The third thing is to build meaningful relationships with people and maintain those over time, at least the good ones. So many of those started at UT for me and are still my best friends to date. And this position that I have at WWF, when I applied for it, I reached out to somebody who used to be my TA as an undergrad at UT and was then a fellow grad student. And I was like, hey, John, do you know anything about this position? That very same day, my current boss reaches out to him asking if he knows of any good candidates for the position. And at that point, it was almost mine to lose. So really try and build relationships, maintain them, and that is what enables all of us to do the work that we do. It's those relationships, the relationships with your colleagues, with community members, with government officials. It's so, so important. The fourth thing is to explore and embrace the diverse cultures and places around the world, if you get the chance. I was just in Fiji a couple of weeks ago, and amazing place, as you might imagine, right? Pristine islands, beautiful corals, holding baby turtles that just hatched in your hand. But what was the most memorable experience? It wasn't any of that. It was the people. It was my colleagues in Fiji that I traveled with. It was the elder ladies in the village who cooked a meal for us and were so happy to see us devouring that meal. It's the guy who in his spare time goes to the turtle island to look after the turtles. So those relationships are so, so important. The fifth goes back to my answer for that group interview. Be dedicated. Whatever you end up doing, go that extra mile, exceed expectations, deliver a product that surpasses what everybody expects. From UT, you've learned a wealth of knowledge. But the truth is, most of what you're going to need for your job, you're actually going to learn on the job. And instead, it's your collaboration, your courage, and your dedication that will set you apart from the rest. Sixth is that all of you, particularly in this college, are now masters of the scientific method. And we live in a world of fake news. It's a very polarized world. People don't want to speak to each other if they disagree with each other. But you have this training in science. You know to make informed judgments. You know to question misleading data. And you know that scientific phenomena are testable, repeatable, and only correct until proven otherwise. One of my best friends in DC, who I met at UT, her dad was visiting DC, and we went out for dinner, and I knew that he was a climate change skeptic. So he asked me what I do for work. And I just avoided the CC words, and I said, I work on wildlife conservation. And he said, that's not enough, tell me more. So I was like, okay, I work on climate change. So then he says, how do you know this is real? So I go into a half-an-hour dialogue, this 200-year evidence base for why we know that global warming is being caused by humans. And at the end of it, he says, that to me just sounds like correlation, not causation. But later that summer, when he's with his friends, my friend Kate tells me that he starts speaking to them about climate change and asking them what they think about it. So whatever our conversation was clearly changed something in his mind a bit. And that is so, so important. You know, you are empowered with this amazing scientific knowledge. Use it for good. Have informed conversations with people who disagree with you. Don't just argue with them and dismiss them outright. Very, very important. And lastly, a colleague once told me 3 things that motivate people, particularly in the workplace: autonomy, mastery, and a sense of purpose. And if you have that in your job, it'll never feel like you work another day. You won't find that immediately, and don't settle for anything less, but it'll take time, but you will eventually find it. And lastly, you know, I can't even imagine what you guys have been through. The pandemic, for many people in the workplace, it didn't actually affect our day-to-day life that much. For students, I can't even imagine how it's affected your career. But this has made you extremely resilient. And your generation is one of a kind as a result of that. You are graduating from a university that is of the first class in research, teaching, and a very diverse student body from all over the world. And you are the people that are going to go on to prevent future pandemics, to explore other planets. You know, you're going to be at the forefront of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, but most of all, you're going to help humanity and this wonderful planet that we call Earth. What starts here truly does change the world, and you, CNS, are the very best of the best. You'll always be welcome back on campus. I'm sure many of you will come back for football games. I'm lucky to come back quite often, and just yesterday I discovered that I'm still listed as the emergency contact on the -80 freezer from about 21 years ago. So you'll always come back and you'll see so many things that remind you of your time at UT, and you're going to love it. So in sum, class of 22, it's been such an honor speaking to you. Congratulations on your achievements. Today is all about you, and you will remember this for a long time to come. So enjoy it to the fullest. Hook 'em.